week. First of all, welcome back, everyone. This is Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times. We are having a conversation about the book of Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, King Solomon's work on imparting wisdom to the world. And he does this through these very terse verses that he left over, these very deep ideas that we call Proverbs. So these are deep teachings about how to live a life of meaning, how to live a life of success. We have gone through the first 12 chapters, and we're going to finish up the 12th chapter today. God willing, next week start the 13th chapter. And last week we spoke about this idea of deceit, that those people that live a life of deceit, those people that have a lying tongue, those people who are somewhat estranged from truth, end up living a life of evil, living a life of superficiality. But that's not true for the righteous. This week we read the words tzedek tirdof, righteousness, one shall pursue. And this idea of righteousness is a central theme in everything that as Jews believe. We talk about tzedek as tzedakah, as charity. We speak about tzedek as justice. We speak about tzaddik, someone who's righteous. So you have this idea of tzedek and justice and righteousness and charity all interwoven into one idea. What's the common denominator between the three? Is that justice, charity, and righteousness is something that that's the baseline. That's something we need to expect from ourselves, right? Just like justice is doing what you're meant to be doing, right? Charity is about doing what we're meant to be doing. You give charity in a way that's just. You act righteous, which is a way that is just. So King Solomon today says as follows. He says, Lo yu'unet letzadik kol avon u'rsha'im mil'ura. No wrong shall be caused for the righteous, but the wicked are full of evil. Okay, so what's he talking about over here? Okay, King Solomon is the ultimate, sorry about that, the ultimate orator, trying to get you to a place of truth, trying to get you to a place of understanding, trying to give you a deeper understanding of, this happens, like just sort of whenever you start teaching, I get all these phone calls coming in, I'm just blocking them all out right now. Okay, so what does it mean, lo yunel tzaddik kol avon, right? No sin will befall the righteous. So it means that he won't inadvertently fall into sin. It means that when you're someone who's living a life of righteousness, if you're someone who's living a life of truth, it means you're doing everything you can to avoid falling into sin. The word ye'uneh, right, implies something that happened as a result of a previous act. Okay, it follows this principle that of mitzvah goreret mitzvah and aveira goreret aveira. That when you do something, when you do one sin, it often triggers another sin. When you're involved in doing something good, it generally brings you to a place where you can do more good. This is the way the world's set up. When you're involved in tov, you do good, boom, more good. Bad, more bad. Usha'im ura, but the wicked, why are they filled with evil? Because one sin leads to another. And this is the way the world works. And then he continues, he says, however, toivat Hashem saftei sheker. False lips are an abomination to God. V'osei emunah ratzono. But those who work faithfully, right, they are ratzono, they are part of his desire, his delight. Okay, so you have an individual who is lost in wickedness, someone who is involved in righteousness, and righteousness begets righteousness, and wickedness begets wickedness. But toivat Hashem saftei sheker. False lips, they're an abomination to God. Okay, false lips can refer to several things. They could refer to a false witness or a liar, right? There's something called kat shakranim, right? A group of liars. And Rabbi Yoda says that kat shakranim can never be in the presence of God or in the world to come. You're lost in falsehood. You are ripped away from a spiritual reality. But those people who act in faith are part of his desire, is his wanting. Emunah, faith. Okay, the pasuk does not stress speech, but action. A person's deeds needs to be consistent with his words. Okay, someone who feels pain in various parts of his body, right? A good doctor is going to go ahead and try to immediately to identify the root cause of the issues. What are the symptoms? When the cause is treated, right, the other symptoms begin to disappear. Similarly, if someone is spiritually sick, spiritually ill, they're suffering from a faulty character traits, that person should work on their traits to become someone who is bigger and better, someone who is more attuned to their own unique development. That is what we're talking about in this pasuk. Osei emunah retzono, right? You do the good thing, you'll be rewarded. You do the bad thing, you're going to go ahead and that ailment, that physical ailment, will continue to spread. Adam arum. Okay, you are a man. Adam arum kosed da'at. Adam arum. The word over here, arum is often translated as nakedness, but over here, like in the verse of Nachash haya arum koket b'sadeh, and the snake was more cunning than the other beasts of the field. The word over here, arum, means cunning. So Adam arum kosed da'at. A cunning man conceals knowledge, right? V'lev ksilim yikra ivelet. But the heart of a fool calls out to foolishness. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, this is a very deep idea. A clever person, right? They're going to hide their genius. They're poker players. They're going to keep their cards as close as they can to their chest. They're not going to. No one's going to know what they know. They're very discreet about their wisdom. They're very, careful to to have the upper hand by being discreet. Whereas the fool is always talking. The fool is always proclaiming their foolishness. So modesty compels good people to conceal their good deeds, right? And that could be a source of pride and honor to them, right? Hatsenna lechet im elokecha. When you walk humbly with God, a wise man only reveals wisdom to those people that are worthy of it. You're not going to waste your time sharing your wisdom with people that are unworthy of it because they're not going to understand it. They're going to hold those things against you. A wise person should never rush to act on their thoughts. They should first analyze. They should first think through. They should refine. They should, concretize what they know. When he speaks about what's on his mind, even if it's foolish, okay, a fool will immediately go ahead and verbalize, what he or she is thinking without thinking about it, just going ahead and blurring it out. There is so much wisdom in being patient when it comes to opening your mouth. Take the time to clarify what you believe. Take the time to refine it. You can't do it yourself. Speak to someone else who can help you refine it. Speak to someone else who will help you clarify it, who will help you find the right words to put into the emotion, to the thinking, and so on and so forth. Don't just act unilaterally on your own. If you do, you're just expressing a foolish type of behavior. Okay? Lev ksilim, you have a fool's heart. Yad chartzum timshol, urmiya tiyeh lamas. The hand of the diligent will rule, but deceit will lead to payment of lamas, of tribute. So will rule. What does it mean the hand of the diligent will rule? It means they'll become wealthy. People that are diligent, people that are consistently on top of their game, are people that are going to make a lot of money. Okay, and therefore they become industrious. Their righteousness and their industriousness will help them find wealth. But deceit, oh, that's going to be bad. Why? Because when you're a liar and a deceiver, you're always going to have to be paying somebody off. You're going to be paying lamas. You're going to be paying tribute. Okay? These people earn a living through deceit. And at some point, deceit will not succeed. It always gets to come out. Don't waste your time trying to be deceitful. It always comes back to hurt you and harm you. And when you live a life of deceit, if there is concern in a man's heart, right? He's going to be concerned. You're living a life of deceit. You're always worrying about it. Why should you live a life of stress? But davar tov yismachena. But someone who is living a life of tov yismachena, he should be happy. They don't have that worry, the same worry that a deceitful person has. A deceitful person is always looking behind the shoulder, trying to protect the lie. But an honest person, they're always living in this realm of happiness. They're living in a world where in this positive state. right? Now, a couple of things. One is, how do we deal with da'aga? How do we deal with worry? Today we call it anxiety, right? If a person wants to deal with their anxiety, they need to channel it. They need to speak to someone else, right? If you can't talk to someone because it's a lie, the anxiety gets worse. But if you use your intelligence, your mind to help you work through the issue, you'll find some calm, okay? But if you can't speak to someone, hire someone, find someone to talk to, it doesn't matter who it is, speaking helps alleviate the anxiousness. But if you're someone who's a dvar tov yismechena, someone who is who accepts the yoke of Torah, someone who is growing, someone who is not worried, someone someone who is someone who's really working hard on being the best they can be. They're not working, they don't have da'aga. They don't have that kind of stress because they know they're doing what they can be doing. Okay, they know that they're living a life in their fullest possible way. Again, most people lie because they're worried about output. I want to change the output. The people that are telling the truth, they realize you can't control output. The only thing you can control is input. And that's what reinforces the positive behavior, the input. Don't worry about the output. Sometimes I can't control the output. You want to control the output, you're going to lie to manipulate the output. That's going to bring you to a life of worry and da'aga, not to a life of simcha. We have 3 more psukim before we finish the parak. Yeter marehu tzadik v'derech hashayim tita'am. The righteous is more generous than the neighbor, and the way of the wicked will lead them astray. Okay? I think this pasuk is pretty clear, pretty straightforward, right? The righteous person always has an advantage over the unrighteous person, right? He has a benefit. You could argue maybe it goes the other way, but I don't believe it's a righteous person is always going to be superior to his non-righteous fellow because he has paved the proper way for life. If wicked people are successful, their success convinces them to go even further astray. You are steeped in rasha, in a reshut, in wickedness. You just keep doing more and more wicked stuff to survive. But a person who is superior, a person who is righteous, is always doing the right thing. He's just not worrying the same way, right? Rashi says that this person, mivater, right, he gives in. He's a righteous person who's always a mevater. He lets go. He realizes he can't control the outcome. He overlooks the wrong done to him, right? He habitually lives a life of balance, right? But the way of the evil always leads them astray. It always leads them the other way. Okay, this is talking about there's a deep connection here between all the verses, right? What good thing can one say to make a suffering person happy? You tell him because he is better, right? You tell them, we just start justifying all kinds of things when we do bad. This guy, he's the honest people always get the short end of the stick, and the liars always do better. It's nonsense. They start justifying it. Yeter marehu tzaddik. Right? You have to work on being more righteous, not less righteous. You see what's happening in Afghanistan right now. It's horrific. People being beheaded. I mean, the whole world's going crazy. And why? Because we no longer live in a world of righteousness. We live in a world where people respect power, money. Power and money. We say power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? We've created a society that is interested in superficial strength and nothing real. It's through tzidkut, through righteousness and humility, that we build a stronger, greater world, not a world that's falling apart like the one we're in right now. Let's go on. 2 more psukim. Lo yichroch rimya tzedo. He will not roast his prey of deceit. V'hon adam yakar charutz. But the wealth of an honest man is precious. Last pasuk. The road of charity is life, and on the way of its path there is no death. Okay, so let's see what King Solomon says over here. He says like this. He says, "Lo yechroch tzeddo." Right? He's not going to roast the prey of deceit. This is a continuation of the previous pasuk. A successful hunter captures birds and roasts them in the fire, but the wicked person right? The person before, he's not going to roast. He enjoys the prey of the seat. Okay, he's not going to enjoy his illicitly gained wealth because it's going to be stolen from him. That's just the way it is. You're running with a den of thieves. They're going to steal from you too. That's just the nature of the game. Be'orech tzedakah chayim, but the pathway of charity, that's where there's life. There's several ways of understanding this. One is there's years added to a person's life in the merit of his charity. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet, charity saves a person from death. Alternatively, another way is that when someone is following the path of tzedek, of righteousness, a righteous person is going to attain eternal life. Derech nitivot al mavet, in the pathway it leads, there is no death. On the road of charity, you won't find death. He's not going to die a spiritual death. His life will not be shortened. The charity will protect him. Okay, everyone is given in this world a set number of years that they have to accomplish their unique mission in this world. So charity does two things. One, it guarantees that the donor gets allotted years of his life, more years. Okay, they're not going to be shortened. And it also gives him the ability to continue to do more good. Okay, and therefore it's just like this revolving process where he keeps reinvesting those equity into more investments and more and more and more and more and more and more. And he gets to a place where he's living 120 years of life, filled with happiness, filled without regret, filled with all the bracha that you could possibly imagine. So I love this. This is a great way of ending this particular chapter. Be'orech tzedakah chayim. You should have this, written on a plaque and posted on your door. In the road of charity, be'orech tzedakah, or in the path of justice, chayim. That's where you'll find chayim. The derech netivot al mavet, and on the way of its path there is no al mavet. There is no mavet. There is no death. He will not die. You give your tzedakah. We say that there's three things that save a person from death, right? It's tshuva, tzedakah, and tefillah. This, my friends, is the month of Elul. We are 30 days away from Yom Kippur. Okay, we're a little bit more, about 33 days away from Yom Kippur. We're 3 weeks, 21 days away from Rosh Hashanah. Now is the time to give your charity. Now is the time to get yourselves back on a path of righteousness. Now is the time to ask yourselves, how could you abandon your life of falsehood and start embracing a life of simcha, a life of truth. Have an amazing day. Looking forward to continuing the conversation, God willing, next Monday. Please join me on Wednesday for Coffee Talk. We're going to be continuing with the 10 Sfirot. We'll be working on the concept of Keter, the crown, and we'll try to give you a little bit more information to understand how these Sfirot work in our day-to-day lives and give you something more practical to talk about. On Friday, you can join me for Oxygen for the Soul and the Parsha. Wishing you a fantastic day. Hope you enjoyed. If you have questions, I'll take them now. Otherwise, have a fantastic week.